Eggers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Reporting today on State versus Shannon Hinton, file 24 CR 961. We're here today for sentencing. The State of Ohio is prepared to go forward. Thank you.
Sibbert.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. We are prepared to proceed with the sentencing in this matter.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Hinton pled guilty to 5 different counts of this indictment, some high-level felonies, with the understanding that he is going to be serving a prison sentence. Your Honor, he has admitted his wrongdoing by entering that plea. He in fact knows that what he did was wrong. He is prepared to tell you about his thoughts on the matter and to express that he is remorseful for his conduct and that he needs to make a change.
I would like to apologize to the person that I caused harm to. I also would like to apologize to the prosecuting team for their work, the detectives in the Lake County Jail. I know the decisions that I made were selfish and I'd agreed, but I've come to my senses and I want to do better, want to change. I also want to change for my family because the path that I've chosen early in my life have done nothing but led me down the dark, dead-end road that I truly regret. And it's taken me 35 years of my life to understand this is not the life that I want. I thought money would fix my life, when really the true value is my family and my freedom. I've now chosen to push restart and become someone else, someone who's there for my family and someone who helps his community. I ask this court for forgiveness. I won't think about any more drugs ever. I also know that I have to accept my consequences. So whatever they are today, I accept them. So please have mercy for me for the sake of my family and for me to have another chance and finally prove who the man I know I could be in this world. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we would ask with that you accept the joint recommendation of the parties and impose an 8-year prison term to be run concurrent to the prison term that Mr. Hinton is already serving. I would also point out that he does have the support of his family. His mom's here today. He knows he's let her down. And again, we would just ask that you impose the jointly recommended sentence of 8 years. Thank you, Your Honor.
This stuff's been going on for 15 years. So what you read rings completely hollow to me. Because if you meant any of that, you wouldn't have been doing this over here in March of 23. Because in November of 9, you went to prison on an F4, trafficking. Did about 7 months. Got out in March of 10. That same month, you pled guilty to trafficking. You were put on probation. This is right after you got out of prison. And then after violation of probation, you went to prison for about 15 months, or no, only about 3 months. Trafficking. April of 13, F4 drug possession and weapons. Went to prison for about 9 months. Get out in July of 14. March of 15, in West Virginia, apparently, you get a aiding and abetting, a distribution of heroin. Go to prison, federal prison, August 31 of 15, released March 26 of 21. March 26 of 21. July 1st of 21, 3 months later, you're here with possession of fentanyl, which was an F3. Proceeds subject to forfeiture, trafficking in fentanyl F5, trafficking in fentanyl F3, trafficking in fentanyl F4. And apparently I'm told, I don't remember this, but apparently I'm told there was a joint recommendation of 2 years and I gave you 3 years. You're doing that sentence now. I'm not sure what you were doing over here in March of 23. I don't know. You're hard to keep track of because you keep doing the same thing for 15 years. And now you tell me that you realize you were wrong and it's impacting your family. And now your mother's got to be here because your overriding concern, the way you've conducted yourself for 15 years, is to try to make money selling dope, right? Am I right or am I wrong?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And you got some fairly light penalties in the past, 3 times of anywhere from 3 months up to about 7 months before you got popped for about 6 years in federal prison. And then 3 months later, you're at it again with the same stuff. And then less than 2 years later, you're at it over here. When did you discover that there was a way to get dope in that jail? In that cell from the 4th floor?
It was a hole in the window that was been in the window for quite some time.
Okay. How did you know that?
Because it was going around the jail.
And somehow you wormed your way into that cell? How'd you do that?
I mean, in different inmates run out of different cells.
I know, but you ended up moving to that cell, right, with Ruskin? Did you move in there with Ruskin?
No, it was never my cell.
Where was your cell?
I was in cell, I believe, 2 doors down.
Who was in that cell where the hole was in the building?
Another kid, I believe his name was Josh Brown.
Josh Brown, the one who dropped over?
Correct.
So, when you got this stuff in the jail, who'd you sell it to?
We was pretty much using.
Okay. Well, who paid for it?
Who paid for it? Nobody didn't pay for no drugs.
Okay. Somehow, what's her name? Lil Ma?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Got drugs somewhere, gave Archie a ride out here, right? Who gave Archie a ride out here?
I don't know that person.
You don't know that. Well, who were you trying to arrange? It was Walt, right? Did he do it?
No.
Who did it? You were on the phone trying to get multiple people, somebody who had a car, to get that stuff out here. Who got it out here?
I don't know that. I don't know his name.
Okay. Well, who arranged it?
I arranged it, Your Honor.
Okay. So would you just call up somebody with no name and have them come out here and?
I
and meet?
arranged it with my girlfriend.
Okay. And so where'd the drugs come from?
The drugs came from somebody that she found.
Okay. So who paid for those?
She did.
So who was gonna make this pot of gold, pot of gold, pot of gold?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we both would have benefited from the
You're pretty sure? I mean, this is your business, right, for the last 15 years, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're pretty sure?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, are you kind of trying to slight things with me here?
No, sir.
Okay. So the idea was to get her paid for what she was putting out, right? For the drugs. And then to make some money off the drugs you were bringing in with the inmates, right?
Correct.
Okay. This ain't rocket science here. Okay? So once these drugs came in, what did you do with them?
Was using them.
Okay, who? Besides Brown, who dropped over,
All of us who was involved on the indictment.
which is who?
Ruskin. I believe his name was Dustin. Joshua. Myself. Yeah, it was just us.
Okay, and then how much did they pay you?
I was never paid
Why not?
because don't nobody have any money.
Okay, well, you were talking to your girlfriend about how, and Archie, how this was a pot of gold up there. And what I took from that conversation was you were going to get this stuff in here, be able to sell it, and make a lot of money to all these people who were drug addicts, right? Wasn't that the idea?
Not over here at the jail. I was planning on taking the drugs with me, Your Honor.
Taking them where?
Back to the institution I was housed at.
Okay. But you didn't do that. You just spread it out among your buddies over there, out of the goodness of your heart, or what?
I mean, at the time being, we had addictions. We wanted to get high.
Well, before you found the hole in the wall to get it in, how were you getting drugs? You had an addiction, so you had an active addiction. When's the last time you used? Before March of 23.
Before March of 23.
Right.
I was using probably a few days before that, I want to say.
Okay. All right. So the pot of gold was you were going to get it in and take it with you back to prison.
Correct.
But instead of that, you just spread it out among the faithful over there.
I mean, that wasn't the initial plan. But once the drugs came into my possession, it was urges to use, and it was just boredom.
What was the talk about the Cash App?
Cash apps was normally used for trading.
Trading what?
Traded food items and commissary. Child hall trades normally.
With who? Other inmates, right?
Correct.
So somehow the Cash App was going to be used to pay for the dope, right?
I mean, eventually, once I left the prison, I'm pretty sure I would have used probably my books.
Your what?
I would have got money added towards my my commissary account.
Well, I don't believe that. I think you were going to make your girlfriend, make sure that she got what she put into it. You were going to pay Archie for coming out of the parking lot and putting it on the end of the rope. you were gonna pay Walt or whoever to drive, and then you were gonna sell the shit up there and make some money. That's what I think was going on here. You tell me otherwise, but I don't believe you. Because this is what you do. This is what you've done for 15 years. And this talk of you wanting to do something different is nonsense. Because you don't do anything different.
I'm ready to, Your Honor.
What?
I'm ready to.
Well, I don't know. You're either ready to do something different or you're not ready to do something different. I don't have the slightest idea.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
But, you know, you're here to pay your debt for this. Now, whether you change or not in the future, is beyond anything I can do or not do. It's up to you. It quite honestly doesn't concern me, all right? Because you're going to do whatever you're going to do. I mean, obviously, when you've gone to court the other 5 or 6 times, it didn't change one thing about what you do. You just keep doing it. So, change if you want to change. Don't change if you don't want to change. Anything else you want to say?
Yes, Your Honor. It took me 35 years to get to this point in my life. And now I realize all the mistakes that I did make growing up in my life. I have had a backed up past record. I have committed multiple crimes, drug offenses after drug offenses, because I haven't grown yet, haven't understood. But now when I sit here and I look at my life and the consequences that's upon me, I understand that I gotta face them, but it comes at times in a man's life where you're just ready to change, and I come to those conclusions.
Well, I guess I could sort of understand why the first 3 times in prison didn't really bother you that much because there were minimal amount of time. But when you went for almost 6 years in federal prison, I had a thought, based on what you just said, that would have been the time that would have woke you up a little bit. Because that 6 years in prison is a long way away from 6, 7 months in prison, and 2 months in prison, and 3 months in prison, right?
Yes.
So you would have thought if somebody who had been doing what you had been doing over and over and over and over again was going to do something different, that would have been the time to do it. When you sat there for 6 long years doing nothing. That's what I would think. But I guess I'm wrong. Anything else, Ms. Hibbard?
Your Honor, I would like to note for the court that Judge, when you first assigned me to this case, Mr. Hinton didn't really even want to talk to me or cooperate with things. And he has honestly come a long way, even in that few short months since I've been working with him. He seems genuinely remorseful and that he knows that he absolutely has to do something different going forward. I mean, he really didn't want to talk to me at first, and now we've come this far to him pleading guilty to these 5 counts, him working with me, going over things, participating. I think it is indicative that he's indicative of his true desire to do something different. And hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. He knows he's going to prison for a long time. So Your Honor, we would just, again, ask that you accept the joint recommendation and impose the 8 years. Thank you.
Eggridge?
Thank you, Your Honor. State of Ohio would ask you to adopt the joint recommended sentence. Thank you.
What is his credit on this case? Do you know?
Do not.
Does he get any credit because he's under the prison sentence?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
I think he does, Your Honor. I think he gets credit for all cases for which he's being held, and he didn't even bond out on this one.
Hey, he's on an OR bond, Judge.
But I think he didn't sign it, so he never really bonded out.
You set the bond at OR on 9/10/24.
Okay.
But he was held in the Lake County Jail as a result of this case number.
So the other case that he's in prison on now, I believe expires in about the end of January of 26. So he got 3 years, credit for about 4 months, take it back to January of 23 sometime. The sentencing date here was May 31 of 23. So while
And Your Honor, I think the sentencing date was May 31st, but I believe he stayed here. I was just reviewing that docket the other day. I think he stayed here until August, late August of 23. I'm not really sure why though. Perhaps.
So while he was in jail in March of 23 on the 21 case, the one I sentenced him on.
Your Honor, he's going to be serving the sentence till July 20th of 2026.
All right, well, that's probably incorrect, so you may want to check that when you get back.
We intend to, we just didn't want to bother the court with it prior to this sentencing.
Because
Thank you.
he pled guilty on April 12th of 23, so a couple weeks before that, he's doing that nonsense over there. He was given credit for 126 days on May 31, which brings it back into the last week of January. And if I gave him 3 years, it means January of 26. So somebody's got it wrong.
I think it's the Bureau of Sentence Computation.
Okay, well, they're wrong by about 6 months, so you may want to check that. So, all right. I've gone back and looked at the old pre-sentence report from May of 23. I've taken a look at some of the sheriff, deputy, police reports regarding this case. I have listened to Mr. Hinton, Ms. Hibbard, Mr. Geigrich, and I've considered all the applicable factors in 29-29-11, 29-29-12, and 29-29-13. And I've said it, I'm not going to belabor it, Mr. Hinton, but you have conducted yourself in such a way that you are, in fact, a person sitting here who committed this type of offense for the 5th or 6th time. And this time it kind of ratchets up because you're bringing drugs in from the outside into the jail, causing one guy who's a hopeless heroin addict to drop over nearly dead. And you did this all because you wanted to, you saw a way to make a quick buck while you were sitting over here, and you thought you had a pretty good method, but it all fell apart rather quick. It wasn't that bright of a plan in the end. So on count 1, which is a felony 2, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 6 years in prison. On count 3, which is a felony 3, 36 months in prison. On count 5, which is a felony 2, I'm going to sentence you to, and it's a mandatory sentence, a definite minimum term of 6 years up to an indefinite maximum term of 9 years in prison. Count 6, felony 3, I'm going to sentence you to 36 months in prison. And on count 9, felony 3, I'm going to sentence you to 36 months in prison. Now, counts 5 and 1 will be concurrent to one another. So that's a total of a definite minimum of 6 and an indefinite maximum of 9. Whether you serve any time beyond that 6 on that particular sentence is up to the Department of Rehabilitations and Corrections based on your activity when you're in the institution. There's a presumption that you should be, that sentence should terminate at 6 years, but you'll have to fight that out with the institution. Counts 3, 6, and 9 are going to be concurrent to one another, but it will be consecutive to the 6 to 9. And consecutive sentences, and also this sentence will be consecutive to 21-896, which by my look has about a year left. Consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and to punish you, and they are not disproportionate to the seriousness of the conduct and the danger that you pose, obviously, to the public. At least 2 of these offenses were committed as part of 1 or more courses of conduct, and the harm caused by at least 2 of the offenses was so great or unusual that no single prison term for any of the offenses committed as part of this course of conduct adequately reflects the seriousness of your conduct. And obviously your history of criminal conduct demonstrates they are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you. When you get out, then you're going to be on post-release control for at least a year or at least 18 months, up to 3 years under the parole authority with conditions. If you violate the conditions, a parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If your violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. And the costs are assessed. Mr. Geigrich, you and Ms. Hibbard can put your heads together on whether you believe that he's entitled to credit for the time he's been here since he was arraigned on the charge, and then I'll make that order accordingly. Is there anything else, Mr. Geigrich?
Remaining counts be dismissed, Your Honor.
Yes. Anything else, Ms. Hibbard?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
I will adjourn.